My name is Dustin Bechtold. Welcome to the very first video for my channel. Hope you enjoy it. I'm going to try to make it a weekly thing. And this here is my Mazda RX-7 FC3S. Has a 5-liter Mustang motor out of a 93. And hopefully it's going to be my 2017 Pro-Am car. So this video series is pretty much going to document going from the junk that you see now, it's pretty beat up, to a fully built Pro-Am car, hopefully by next summer. So I hope you like it, I hope you enjoy it, subscribe, and I'll do a little walk around of the car and show you exactly what I mean by beat up. So over here, my quarter panel looks pretty decent. The bottom got a little pushed in, actually when I first had it, not due to me. And you can see that the gap going up the door is a lot better than it is at the bottom. But it doesn't affect the way the door opens or shuts. It's great, perfect, not going to touch it. But last Park Fest, a friend of mine stopped in the middle of the course to avoid hitting somebody else. And you can see I did not quite stop as fast as he did. So push this whole quarter panel in. Door kind of doesn't open as good as it used to. You can see the big dent compared to the other side that's nice and smooth in this area. And the actual striker is pushed in. So it's having a hard time shutting the door, opening it. You really got to slam it. Probably just end up cutting all this out, getting another door that I already have, and going wide body for next year. And part of the other issue I had, this would be my lower ball joint. So I had a problem with this nut here, or this bolt and the nut on it, loosening up about halfway through drift events. I'd have to put it up in the air, tighten everything back down. So when I hit the other car, I believe the nut had backed itself off and just kind of twisted up. Lower control arm is pretty messed up. As you can see, this is clearly messed up and no good anymore. But in case you're wondering, it's 1.5" extension. They work great as long as you don't hit your friends with them. True story. So this is what that lower ball joint is supposed to look like when it's all in one piece. A lot straighter, held up pretty great. So I got to make another one of those for next year as well. Probably just going to do the same thing I did last time, or Kurt from Level Ride might make me a complete custom lower control arm, but we shall see about that one. Another part that got messed up last year is this bash bar here. You can see that nice little kink in the middle of it. It actually got folded all the way in, took out the tire on its way in. So we had to cut it, put a pry bar in there, pull it all out to make it useful. Otherwise this panel would have gotten smushed, which you can see from the angle of this and a couple other things. It got smushed anyway. So we'll get a new one of those, maybe do something a little bit better, cut all this off, and just probably go tube front. Alright, so some other cool stuff that happened this year at Park during my wreck was this hole in the floor now that I have, thanks to the seat bracket that I made. I actually busted through the entire bracket through this thin little floor here. Part of that was the wreck, and part of that was just me being too fat for the bracket that I made. So probably going to head up to Level Ride, fix all this, plate it, make some new seat brackets, and then get a gym membership. This is my small block Ford 302. I got this actually rebuilt by a buddy of mine in a trade for some 240 parts, of course. I've been running it for about 2 years now. There's a full rundown on the engine on IDFK's YouTube channel. It's my buddy Rob. You should go check it out. It's a pretty cool video. It's got a bunch of drifting and other people's cars on there. He's even got a drift Volvo that he's building, which is pretty cool, and it's a Volvo, so it's pretty weird. But it's a pretty neat car, and he's put a lot of time into it, so go check it out. But I got this one, like I said, from a friend, and I had a couple other ones that I pulled out of wrecking yards, and basically pulled it out on a Friday, threw it in Friday night, and went and drifted it. Those lasted for a while, but they're used engines, and you beat the crap out of them drifting, they're eventually going to go. So I got this one completely rebuilt. The only thing I really did after that to make sure that it was going to run for a long time was put a high flow oil pump in it. These have a problem with the factory ones just not being able to keep up to extended high RPMs. So other than that though, I mean, you don't need a dry sump or anything like that. They're really, put them in, abuse them, put it away for a month and take it out again a month later and beat on it. Great motor for the price too. Wrecking yards usually sell them anywhere from $300 to $450, and running, driving, wiring harness, and that's a complete engine. So anybody who wants a swap like this, I highly encourage it. Just for price and reliability, great. My shifter actually moved 1 inch further forward. After the accident, I couldn't get it into first, third, or fifth gear, and the reason why was because it had moved so far forward that it was hitting on the fiberglass and the sheet metal. So I had to drive back into the pit lane in second gear and then figure out what exactly was wrong with it. And come to find out, everything just kind of moved 1 inch further forward. So, not sure what's wrong with it yet. We're going to put it up on the rack at Level Ride and take some measurements of things and see what bent and how bad it is. I think the chassis is fine. I just don't know why something would move forward when getting hit sideways. With that also said, though, I am not a huge fan of having these side pieces on your racing seat. But after that accident, really big fan. Fan for life now. Basically, I hit so hard that my neck hurt for about 4 or 5 days afterwards. And I know I hit my head on those bolsters. Had they not been there, it would have even gone further, probably over into the door or the roll cage, and would have really sucked. But I hit so hard that my head was actually underneath the roll cage. When I went to get out, I couldn't get out of my door. It was completely caved in, slammed shut. So I took my seatbelt off and tried to get up and out. Well, I couldn't. The roll cage directly above my helmet. So I actually had to grab my passenger seat, pull everything over here to this side, and crawl out the top of the sunroof that is not there. Luckily, I don't have a sunroof, so I just kind of went out that way. But yeah, big fan of these seats. Great seat. Had it for years now, and I love it now. Wouldn't go with any other thing but it. So these are my MBs. You can see one crack. Another piece missing. More pieces missing. And that one just kind of chewed up and missing one little chunk. So, yeah, went through about 4 of those last year, broken now, and I will probably try to weld them up and just make them last as drift spares, but who knows, maybe I'll just get new wheels. Doubtful though. And also, some of my older 302s here. This one was the one that got starved. I don't know if you can see the crank or not, but one of these has really, really bad wear on it from me spinning a bearing and just kept going. And then I have another one here underneath the baby seat and some S13 door panels. This one came out of a customer's truck who swore up and down that it was a bad 302. It did not run right. It wasn't worth anything. And it was burning oil was his thing. Come to find out that he had the wrong dipstick in it. And so we put a new motor in it because he refused to have us diagnose it. And when it was sitting there on the bench, we found that out. Went and talked to my parts guys. Parts guys told me if I bring in another 302, they don't care which one goes back to the engine rebuilders. They just need to send one back. So I got a perfectly running driving motor for basically free because I had a spare block that was blown up and I traded them for it straight across. So high output motor, fairly low mileage. It just had way too much oil in it, about a quart to a quart and a half over full. And that's why it was burning oil, because it was burning back down to the 5 quarts, I believe is what they run with. So if I do pop this motor here, I have a spare cast iron heads on it compared to my aluminum heads that you can see here. But still, it'll do the job in case I need it. Alright, that's going to do it for the very first episode. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. And let me know in the comments what you'd like to see in future episodes. Mainly, this is going to be about my 2017 Pro-Am build. But I'll probably also do an episode on my wife's car and her progression in drifting. And probably some of my friends' builds as well. Also, I'll be covering most of the park events. My wife and I do photography out there. So if I'm not driving, I'm out there with the camera or a video camera taking shots. Later.